This is the Blackwatch Report, the ultimate Path to Pro podcast, covering news around the scene, breaking down key matches, and interviewing your favorite players, coaches, and personalities from Contenders and Open Division. Now, here are your hosts, Thorn Rain and Kyle Wynn.
And welcome back for another episode of the Blackwatch Report. I am your host, Thorn Rain, and with me, as always, my co-host, Mr. Kyle Wynn. How you doing tonight, Kyle?
Fantastic. Rainy day here. Gotta go to work after. It's gonna be a weird day.
Yeah, I know. I'm seeing all the players tweeting about how they were all told it rains 3 times a year in California, and it's been raining for like a week. So,
yep, we got a storm advisory warning and everything, man.
Oh man, pretty rough. That's all right. I'll trade you the snow that's outside of my house right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna not take that.
Yeah. Most people wouldn't, so that's understandable. But this is episode 45. What do we say to the team of death? Not today. That's right. We are covering all of the playoffs and the finals today, and man, was it pretty intense. There was some chest grabbers in there, man. It was nuts. But before we get into that, what have you done this past week, sir?
A lot of PUBG.
A lot of PUBG.
I've played so much PUBG.
I did see you were streaming a little bit of it there, weren't you?
I've been trying to stream intermittently here and there when I'm not at work doing podcasty stuff or working on my game. I've been streaming that. I've been streaming a skateboarding game, which has been fun too. I'm gonna try to get into it a little bit more here as things start slowing down, but work has been kind of nuts until we hire new people. So it'll be sporadic.
That's always fun. I haven't gotten back into PUBG. I own it, but I haven't played it since like it was still in early release. I probably should check it out.
If we are always running as 3 into squads, so if you ever want to hop in, you would be perfect as a 4th. So
I might have to take you up on that offer and go hunting for some chicken dinners.
Always.
For me, I watched a lot of Contenders and I played some Sea of Thieves. I placed in Overwatch. That's a thing. My most depressing season to date. I did not place in gold. I placed 1958, solid silver, and I hate myself. It's absolutely terrible.
That's why I don't play ranked anymore.
Like, it was ridiculous because I duo queued with my son, who is a high platinum, low diamond player. Consistently, that's where he's at. And I can keep up with him, and usually when we duo, we do pretty good. The first 4 games, all losses. Like, brutal losses. Like, there's nothing we could have done. So it was like, yep, just shut it off. Came back a couple days later, finished out, won 4 games, lost 2 more. And then I never went back into competitive because I hate people.
That's fair.
But that's going to wrap it up for what we did this week. No iTunes reviews. We do love those iTunes reviews, and we do read them on the show. So if you do have a little bit of time, swing over by iTunes and throw up a review over there. But we did get a bunch of Twitch follows. We have OWLN Show. Thank you, guys. Flux Punk. Eden for Real. Simon OW. Made. Thank you, sir. Congratulations. We'll get into that here in a little bit also. Classic Nation. I was reading that really different than what it says. And Ernie Hazard. Ernie Hazard, I want to give you a special shout out because I saw you joined the Discord. So thank you for joining the Discord. But as always, we're going to get down into the news, and the news is brought to you by our Patreons. This week's news is going to be brought to you by none other than Thugly. If you want to become a Patreon and sponsor our news, head over to patreon.com/Blackwatch Reports and do what you can. Thanks. But let's get into the news here. So number 1 for the scene news. Take it away, Kyle. Yes. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Kongdoo Pantera. Sick name. Panthera sounds like a panther with the... That's such a cool name. Now they have become Team Griffin after they renamed their... across all titles, so League of Legends, Overwatch, PUBG, and Fortnite. They're now Team Griffin, and they have... I dare say one of the ugliest logos I've ever seen in my life. I don't know what it is. It do I have to turn my head sideways? It looks a little bit like a beaver or like a Canadian maple leaf, but like mixed together. Neither which looks like a griffin. So what's going on there, Kongdoo? What's going on, Team Griffin? I don't like it. Go back to Kongdoo, please.
The Kongdoo Pantera. And the thing is they kept the Kongdoo Pantera solely for their Overwatch division for like this whole year or whatever. And then they're like, no, we're just going to go Team Griffin. And like you said, it's not good. Like, it's generic. Kongdoo Pantera sounded sweet. It was like a cool little like eyeball type logo thing. I don't know what it was, but it was sweet. Yeah. No good. But our next bit of news here is going to take us over to the EU, and Dezachu is going to step away from full-time casting EU Contenders to focus on his software company. I guess it's been doing really, really well, and he wants to get back and start working with his team. He felt kind of bad in his release. He said that he felt bad that he was off doing casting while he had a team working for him, and he wanted to go work with them. So he will still be casting, but he's going to be doing some local tournaments, and I believe he said that was going to be for Rainbow Six Siege. He was going to do out there, I believe, in London.
Interesting. The last little bit of C news. This is what you congratulated Maid on, and this was a great thing to see. Is that because all but one of the academy list teams has agreed to have an academy team. So we are out of all of the teams out of Washington, Toronto, Vancouver, Paris.
No, that was
Hangzhou, and Chengdu, or no? Just out of all the NA ones.
Just the NA ones. Yep.
So Valiant, Houston, and then the other 3 or whatever 4. Only one of them has accepted a academy team, and people are speculating it's Toronto. So therefore, Second Wind and First Gen have received invites back to compete in the season, which is awesome to see. Meanwhile, I saw a tweet from people on Kungarna who are mad that they didn't get invited, even though they didn't win a match. You get relegated regardless. If you shouldn't get invited back. You should go back down to trials. You and Skyfox is both.
They got invited to trials. Like,
yeah, exactly.
See, there we go.
At least you don't have to go through Open Division again.
That is true. That's very true.
So yeah, that's good to see Second Wind and First Gen are actually in next season. Hopefully one of the 2 of them can get picked up as an academy team and actually get some money.
Yes, somebody pay these people, because they're doing phenomenal work basically for free. Yep. But that wraps it up for the C news. So we're going to move right down into the roster moves. Kyle, you've got the first one here. So tell us a little bit. This is a little bit of an old one, though, but we got to cover it.
We chatted about it a little bit. I forget who with. But Phase 2 is back. Kungarna is no longer. Oh, we chatted about this with Ham Tornado and Boop Source last week.
Yep.
All the players have separated from Kungarna after Michael's reputation has been re-tarnished yet again.
Was it ever untarnished?
No, it's only either tarnished or more tarnished.
Tarnished-er, maybe?
Tarnished-er, yes. So yeah, Phase 2 is their new name again. So they'll probably be going back down to trials as Phase 2.
Fantastic. So our next little bit here is Cinderella, the main tank for Legacy Esports, has announced his retirement for competitive Overwatch. Legacy, I forgot to write it down. Where was Legacy Esports? Is that South America? Australia. Yes, coming out of Australia. So best of luck in future endeavors, Cinderella.
Next little bit of news is MVP Space have announced their new roster after elimination in quarterfinals. Only returning player is Tuba. Meanwhile, they have Hangji, Jesper, Dokdo, Finn, and Froppy in as their new roster.
And then
not much info there, but yeah.
Yeah, not a lot there, just kind of switching things up. Another little bit of kind of a roster shuffle here. We have Orglis and Hungary announcing their all-Swede roster after not qualifying for playoffs, so they are back down in trials. So we have Emil, Leodeds, I'm going to brutal that, I'm sorry, Latex, all returning, and then Polly, Berglund, Kanga, and Tang all coming in to fill out those spots. So congratulations on the new players jumping up into trials along with Orglis and
Now here comes the real thonker.
let's bring the spice.
XL2 release Megachu, Clone Man, Goliath, and Logix. What is the reason, you may ask? Well, they want to foster some local talent. So they want to bring in some local New York players. I don't know if anyone in chat or listening remembers what happened with the player that that Fusion University picked up. He played one match, and that was because Kraken wouldn't wake up for a scrim or for the tournament.
Yep.
Didn't go super great. Wasn't the most fantastic player, and like New York is slightly bigger than the Philadelphia area, but still, you got like Slasher, who's a bit of a meme joining. I don't know who else is from New York, but like all the New York players I know are on Overwatch League teams.
Deathblow and Blevins.
That's true. There you go. Deathblow's he's like Masters.
Yeah, I think he's Masters. Now,
like, what are you doing, XL2? Like, I can understand if you want to like have one or two people on your roster as your 7-8 spots that you can kind of foster, like get them in on some scrims here, build them up, give them a little bit of coaching, coaching hour here and there. Yep. Or why don't you just make a tier 3 team? Have like XL3.
Yeah.
Have like your open division XL3 team that your XL2 coach, like Adam, will help out a little bit here and there and give them some pointers, and then let them kind of, if one of them shows really, really well, then you bring them to XL2. But like, you're dropping, I'm not like super keen on Goliath. I think he's pretty good, but I don't think he's like necessarily Overwatch League caliber. Clone Man, better, but I still think not. Mangachu's probably Overwatch League caliber. So is Logix. He was like absolutely insane on both the teams he played on. Like, I am not understanding what they're doing there. You're gonna see the number 2 team, or I guess number 3 or 4 team, now drop down to like they very well could get relegated at this point.
Oh, I hope they do. Now I've seen a lot of people defending XL2. Most of them, New Yorkers, happen to be in the Discord, named Deathblow. I mean, and like he brings up valid points. Like this, what is it? The 7 Deadly Venoms have the watch parties, and like if some of those guys got on the team, like it would be super hype. And it's XL2's, or it's the Excelsior's academy team. They can do what they want with it. They want to foster local talent. Now, Kyle, I'm going to ask you a question here.
Yeah.
How many foreign talent are on the British Hurricane? Now, when I say foreign, I mean outside of the region.
What do you mean? Outside of where they are?
Outside of the EU region.
I don't think any of them. They're all EU players.
They're all EU players.
Yeah.
Now, we look at XL2, who is claiming to do this because they want to build local engagement. They've cut everyone except for 3 players: Huyal, Tizzy, and Jur. Jur is from North America. Yes. Huyal and Tizzy are from Korea. Now, if you wanted to build a team to like benefit and grow local community, you would cut your Huyal and Tizzy and even Logix, because Logix was an import. And you would go the way of the British Hurricane. Yep. And then I got they can't call anybody up. Well, Spitfire aren't calling anybody up. They're building contracts to sell off contracts. So it's a thing. Don't cover it as one thing and then like hand it to the fans like, hey, we're doing a good thing for New York, but just completely screwing over other players who deserve to be in here, but don't get to be simply because they don't live in the right city. It's kind of crappy.
They're doing what Paris is doing, and Deathblow hates what Paris did. So
yeah, but he loves what XL2 is doing, and he hates Contenders.
True.
It's confusing.
He's just
that's Deathblow for you. But
Yep.
we got to move on. So our next bit of news here, we have Swoosh announced as the new head coach for Team Giganti, who just won EU Contenders. Congratulations, gentlemen. Swoosh was with Giganti during the season, but it kind of it was low-key under the radar, and they really didn't announce anything until the end. So congratulations on stepping into the team and helping them, finally get up there and take that championship.
Yep. Last little bit of news here is something that just was announced recently, and that is Jane's Tournament of Future Champions 2019 has been announced for January 19th and 20th. So that's in 4 days. NA and EU has $2,000 prize pools, hero bands, coaches spectating live. Lots of cool stuff to see here. Lots of trying out new things. All kind of lower end tier 2, mostly tier 3 teams here. Actually, I think all of them are tier 3. Yeah, first gen.
I think first gen was in there, yeah.
They very well could win the whole thing just based off of the fact that they are the only team here who's made Contenders playoffs. But yeah, cool to see. Awesome to see. Always excited for Jane tournaments. Trying out new things, especially hero bands. I really want to see them in a extended tournament capability. So that way we can have some example of whether or not this works out. Does it make the game more fun to watch? Does it make it less fun to watch? Do teams like it? Do players like it? Do casters like it? Who knows? We'll find out. It's a nice controlled environment to test it out too, which is really good.
Yep. You can never go wrong with a little bit of data sampling. Let's just check it out. But that will wrap it up for the news. So as always, you can break away from your normal energy and you can go rogue. Head over to the rogueenergy.com and use promo code Blackwatch Report at checkout for 10% off of your purchase. They just released a new legendary shaker. It's bright orange and it's super cool. So go and check that out. So that's going to take us into This Week in Overwatch, brought to you by Liquipedia. We've got a slew of birthdays, so I'm going to run through them really quick here. We have Juvenile, Eng, Shadowburn, Atune, Guido, Sato, Dayfly, Leapadef, Dino, Haru, Izzy, Zeal, Kazma, Sabagod, and oh my god, I don't know how I'm going to say this. Quahadina? I'm sorry.
Nationality?
That's
it's
Brazil.
Brazilian. Oh gosh. I don't know.
I'm sorry, South American players. I cannot pronounce that name. If anybody can give me a phonetic pronunciation of this name, please do. I would love it. No trivia. We had one tournament back on January 14th, 2017. We saw the Overwatch Team Story Chapter 1, and that was won by Starhorn Royal Club. I believe that is a Chinese tournament, the Team Story Cups. So
no names I've ever known on that roster, so.
No, that's the first time I've seen that team name, too, so it must have been one of those kind of offshoot ones there. But that's going to take us into the quick play, and boy, I don't know if this one can actually be called a quick play. No. So, NA Contenders, Tuesday, December 18th, we're taking it back.
This very well could, no, this is just copied over previous. Don't just ignore those.
Yeah.
Just ignore all the dates.
It's actually Thursday, the 10th. January 10th. Thursday, January 10th. We have Fusion University going up against Team Envy. Fusion University, we both had this going the way of Fusion 3-1. They take it 3-2. The community had this going to Fusion University 80%. And it was pretty much a given. So, Kyle, what do you have on this matchup for us?
So, it wouldn't be a Fusion game if they didn't lose to a team that they were very clearly better than.
Mm-hmm.
But man, Envy really got their act together. They looked super duper clean on a lot of on Li Zhang here, they took it 2-0 over Envy. Then Numbani went to Fusion 2-1. Horizon back to Envy 3-2. Route 66 back to Fusion University, and then they won the Busan tiebreaker pretty handedly. Did Fusion, giving them the win and moving on to the semis. Fusion are, and like you see this throughout the entire playoff run here, they will take it down to the very last second. They're down 3, and then one person just, I'm gonna clutch this. We're not gonna lose today, and then just kills everyone else. Like, the amount of times that Fusion has won losing fights in overtime is not countable.
They live on the overtime burn. Like,
yes.
it's crazy.
Another little mini thing here, don't ignore Neist. He will dismantle your team on basically anything he plays. He needs to be respected, especially on like May and stuff like that. On Route 66, Envy had 2 minutes to win one team fight, but could not seal the deal. I think that was like, this was all they needed to do, is on second point, right around like almost to the edge of the doors for third. And they just needed to win. They kept running their heads into the wall over and over and over. And Crimzo died both times. So it's just, there was a lot of really close fights that they needed to win, but they did not protect Crimzo. Crimzo did not protect himself. I don't know who to blame for it, but Crimzo died, and that's not good.
Yep.
Giving them the win, or giving Fusion the win on Route 66, and then taking the tiebreak.
So our second match is none other than Second Wind versus First Gen. This was the battle of Trials teams. Kyle had this going to First Gen 3-1. I had this going Second Wind to 3-2. And then the community. Here's the thing. The community only went 46% in favor of Second Wind. So they agreed with you. But Second Wind does take it in a 3-1. Riot Shield from Twitter off of the poll says First Generation started this meta. That's all I have to say. Well, they didn't finish it.
They don't know how to play it.
I'm sorry. But so what do you have for this matchup?
So I don't have a ton of notes. I remember I watched this one live with my wife on the TV, so it was kind of cool to see. Second Wind got 200-0 on the Ilios tiebreaker, so they just kind of really handedly won on the 3-2. Or wait, Ilios tiebreaker. There wasn't an Ilios tiebreaker. What am I talking about? Was this on the previous match or something? I don't know. No, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know where that came from, and maybe I got the notes here wrong. Maybe it was a 3-2. I don't know. No? Okay, whatever. I don't know why that was there. Just, there's a lot of matches to talk about. So Li Zhang, First Gen, took that 2-1. Then Hollywood 3-2 Second Wind, Hanamura 3-2 Second Wind, Route 66 3-2 Second Wind. So there's your quick map breakdown. Next match.
And our next match was XL2 going up against Uprising Academy. We both had this.
It was 3-2. Wait a second. Hold on.
What?
First Gen took Route 66. I had to look it up. First Gen took Route 66, and then there was the Ilios tiebreaker. I was right. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they super handedly won that.
You just forgot to put the last map in. That's all. I
was busy. 3-2.
Well, we're about to have a lot of time off. Well, not time off, but a lot of free time. So the next matchup here is XL2 versus Uprising Academy. We both had this going 3-1 to XL2. The community agreed, 84% going with us, and it was a 3-1. So we landed this one squarely perfect. What do you got?
Let's see. Asking on Widow is really sick. He wins Busan super handedly for them. XL2 could not do anything there. They just every time just opening pick. Okay, well, go back, guys. Go back. Oh, I get an outro pick too, so now they're staggered even longer. So Busan 2-0 for Uprising Academy. Hollywood is where it got turned around for XL2, 3-2. Hanamura 3-2 again, XL2, and then Route 66 was a 2-1. And then last little bit here is that XL2 bring up the triple DPS, double sniper, Pharah combo on Hanamura to cap A in overtime in the second round, which is all they needed to do. So I always love seeing some cool stuff like that.
And then our last matchup, which was Atlanta Academy going up against NRG. We both had this going 3-2. The community wholeheartedly agreed with us. 91% voted ATL Academy. It went 3-1. So we were pretty close. Not too bad. We do have a note here. Shrug Off commented off of the Twitter polls. This one hurts me to say ATL will win. ATL has had one hiccup the entire season, whereas NRG has seemed quite up and down all season long. So he kind of had to go against his heart, and his brain chose wisely.
Yep. So starts off on Li Jiang. NRG take that 2-1, and then man, Atlanta are just not great at control here. Then Numbani is where they brought it back, take the 2-1 victory. Hanamura full hold, 1-0 for Atlanta, and then Dorado went into extra round, I guess, and Atlanta won that 3-2 or 4-3 as well. Excuse me. I don't have like particular breakdowns here. We're trying to keep these relatively short, so we have 3 more matches to talk about still.
Yes. The cool thing about the XL2 Uprising and the Atlanta Academy NRG is I actually got to watch those at a LAN center in a live event. If you haven't had a chance to watch Overwatch with a group of people, figure out a way to do it. It's super cool. That's why I have no notes on that one, because I couldn't sit there and write while I'm screaming and talking about Goats Comp with random people I've never met in my life. Oh. So definitely try to find a local LAN center or something and see if they do Overwatch, contenders or Overwatch League to where you can watch them. So check it out. So our next matchup here was on Friday the 11th. We have XL2 going up against Atlanta Academy. We had this going to Atlanta Academy 3-2. I'm sorry, Kyle had this going 3-2. I had it going 3-1. The community, they pretty much agreed with us. 62% voted for Atlanta Academy. It was a 3-1, so I landed that one. Kyle, what do you have for this matchup here?
So starts off with the only team in the playoffs worse than Atlanta at King of the Hill is XL2. They took Li Jiang, or Atlanta took Li Jiang 2-0 pretty handedly here. Then went to Hollywood, where ATL won that 2-1. Horizon Lunar Colony went to XL2 on the 2-0 full hold there. And then lastly, Dorado went back to Atlanta Academy on their map pick. They are good at Dorado. One thing here, big note, is Atlanta pretty much didn't miss a single bash shatter on Li Jiang. Yep. We're wondering what happens here. Well, it seems like maybe a logics issue. I don't think this was really worth him getting dropped on the roster, but he probably should be bubbling the Rhine more when he gets bashed, or before he gets bashed. You can throw out the bubble on him, or to block the shatter if you all play kind of stacked up behind the Rhine and he gets bubbled, you won't get shattered, I don't think. So generally speaking, I believe, and I'm not like the most knowledgeable person on this, but I believe that that's kind of up to the Zarya if your Rhine keeps getting bash shattered. Or maybe the Brig can also do something to help with that. I don't know. Tizzy in over Clone Man is the real thonker for me. Not really sure why he's in. From what Elkas told us on his interview, that like Tizzy is super duper readable. And it seemed like XL2 was ATL was able to like read him and kind of just perfectly knew what he was going to do, and always kind of got the upper hand on the Rhine battle. Clone Man just seemed to be a little bit more solid, but I guess they didn't want to run him for the finals because they were dropping him anyways. But you know who did have like a really good moment? Man, Wooyall was just going nuts. Like, he's very deservedly still on this team because he was single-handedly trying to bring this back. In losing fights, he was the one like, I got 3. Oh, you guys are dead though. Dang, okay. Like, it's just, there's nothing he could do. He came back on Doomfist, got like 2 picks on Hollywood, stuff like that. Logix really comes in clutch on Horizon Lunar Colony. A lot of really good flanking grabs and just absolutely decimating the team of Atlanta. And there's just a bit of disconnect we saw here, which I guess now they're going to take care of if half the team's gone.
Yep.
But but that's neither here nor there. When you have 2 people doing one thing and 4 people doing another, your team's gonna lose. So unfortunate for them there. But Atlanta take the 3-1, move into finals against whoever wins this next match that we'll talk about.
So our last match for Friday was Fusion University going up against Second Wind. We both had this going to Fusion University. Kyle had it 3-2. I had it 3-1. Now here's the closest one we've had so far. 53% of the vote went to Fusion University on this. So this was a really contested vote among the community. And Fusion take it 3-0. They made it look easy.
They clocked them.
Yep. Or pretty hard too. So Kyle, what do you have on this matchup?
So first off, it goes to Legion Tower, which Fusion take 2-0. Hollywood goes a little bit farther, 3-2 for Fusion. Then Hanamura ends at a 2-1 for Fusion. Second Wind had no answer to the Mei on Legion Tower. They should know that Nice likes to play Mei quite a bit. You have to expect that, you have to anticipate that, you have to scout for that, and you have to have an answer for that, or else you will lose. And they lost because they either didn't scout it, didn't anticipate it, or didn't counterplan for it. Or maybe they had a counterplan for it and they just executed it poorly. So who knows? One of many things could have went wrong there. We saw Snilla be one of the few players who brought out Ash for a little bit and then died and then swapped off on Hanamura. And then Frill on Hanamura really gives it his all as a Widowmaker. Got like lots of really good picks, but it was just barely not enough, and so they ended up losing that one as well. And that was what that's all they needed to lose, really.
Slowly getting to see DPS players get to play DPS is
beautiful.
Really nice. It's super nice, and we got to see a lot more of it in this last matchup of Season 3, which was ATL Academy going up against Fusion University. Kyle had this going Fusion 4-2. I had this going Fusion 4-3. I thought it was going to go the distance. We're both kind of right here. Because there was 7 maps played, but Fusion takes it 4-2. So we have a couple of comments here. Oh, and we have a perfect 50-50 split on the community. We couldn't get a community definitive vote here, so 50-50. Shrugoff comes in and says Fusion University has to lose eventually. And then Fraser A. Connell, Fusion Uni probably coming out with the win, as it now seems impossible for them to actually lose unless it's against Hurricane. Going back. Taking it back to Season 1.
Wasn't even a real match.
Yeah, it was a play match. The match will definitely go the full distance, though 4-3 Fusion University. So congratulations, Fraser. Essentially got it right because we had a little bit of some interesting stuff happen here. So Kyle, what's up with these maps?
So, started out on Lijiang, and what have we said about Atlanta Academy? They're not great on control. They lose it 2-0. Fusion University take that. Then going to Nambani, first one. Again, like every single one of these matches after this point, up until a certain point. Three maps. These next 3 maps are super duper duper close. Numbani came down to like a team fight that I was yelling at my TV for the whole time. 3-2 Atlanta take it, tie it up 1-1. Now becomes a 1-3. So the finals was a 1-4, not best of 7 or anything. It's just 1-4 maps. Hanamura comes up next. Perfect 2-2 draw. On Hanamura, I'm pretty sure is where we saw the Snillo highlight reel that was him on Ash, and he was just picking apart. Atlanta had way more time coming into their playoff push. It was actually they had time. Fusion didn't have time. They had like a minute or 2, and they just did not have an answer. Snilla was uncontested on Ash and just decimating the entire team of Atlanta. Entry pick. Drops down, gets 3 picks, throws Bob out, kills everyone else. Like, there's nothing he can do at that point. So that goes to a draw. Then Route 66 comes around. 5-4 Atlanta clutch it out. Another, like, me screaming at my TV. Super close match. Then I think this was really the tipping point here. It goes back to Control. We kind of anticipated Fusion would win this, and they did 2-0 on Busan. Then at this point, now Atlanta looks exhausted. They get full held on Hollywood. 1-0. Fusion takes it. And then Dorado, same thing. And this is on one of Atlanta's best maps between Numbani and Dorado. Like, they're probably the best two that I've seen from them. And they get full held again. So, going into the kind of detailed notes here, again, with Fusion University clutching out losing fights. There have been so many times when Atlanta has the upper hand, but just like they think, you think you have Fusion in your hand, and they slip between your fingers, get 3 more kills, and your team dies, even though you had the definitive advantage. Hawk, Sugar Free, and Ajax and Saucy all had like really clutch moments. They had to do 4 perfect maneuvers at the same time in order to win this. You had Nice with the Graviton, and the 5 people went out the right-hand door and got grabbed. Meanwhile, Hawk went around the opposite door, made sure he stood on point to contest for a second. Then Sugar Free had to get a bash onto the Rhine to kill him with the grab that Saucy threw out. Then Ajax was able to beat through the first grab. Everyone had their moment that they had to play perfectly, and they did that. So this is very clearly an incredibly skilled team. Next note here. Oh, wait, go ahead.
Really quick, is something I want to point out about this engagement. If we actually take it back to Lijiang, Night Market, what closed out Night Market, Nace threw a Graviton right as time was getting ready to hit overtime, and he caught every single person, because it was the way that they had been coming every single time. So then we go over to Numbani, and the payload is almost to the point. Everybody's coming back out of spawn. Fusion University are right on the verge. They're so close to getting that last point. What does Nace do? He throws the Graviton, catches everyone, except for Hawk. Hawk actually came around the backside, like the far side of the spawn room, closer to the edge, and flanked off, almost as if he knew that there was going to be a Graviton and they were going to run exactly the same play. Because it was the same play that closed out Night Market that they did at the end of Numbani, and Hawk completely countered it, which then started that chain of events that you just talked about. So phenomenal foresight to predict that the grab was going to be there and coming into that hallway to lock everybody down, because that's really what saved them. And I have a new nickname for the combination that is Sugar-Free Begita and Gator's Reinhardt, and that's the Sweet Gator, because good God, can they hit the bash shatters. Like, the amount of bash shatters that these two pulled off through just this series, it's absolutely insane. Every time Gator went to throw the hammer down, Sugar Free was right there to bash the Reinhardt and landed almost every one of them. So super phenomenal play for all of Atlanta Academy there.
Speaking of Gator, man, can we talk about the 360 Shaddy? That was nuts. It was like a 180, but like he was facing the Reinhardt, turned around, made the Ryan think that, he's not shattering, then turned back around with the shatter. It was absolutely dirty. Absolutely, yeah, it was a sick play. But then another thing to talk about here, on Hanamura, we know that Atlanta will run the Bastion, Orisa, May strat here. Like I talked about with the second win match against Fusion, you have to know it's coming. You have to anticipate it. You have to be able to say, okay, well, if they run this, or I guess when they run this, what are we going to do? And They had Chongsik switch to Wrecking Ball, waited a second. They made sure to ran him straight to the point, made sure to defense matrix him. They had a Genji, they had a Sombra. Everything was just like very perfectly orchestrated. Like, okay, A, then B, then C, then D, and now we won the map. Like, it was very, very clearly well thought out, well rehearsed by Fusion University. On B here, like, they were almost gonna win, or at least like almost gonna full hold them, or not full hold, but like hold them on B. But then Alarm just absolutely it destroys Atlanta. You may think, okay, save the Zen last. He doesn't do that much damage. No,
He does a lot.
He does a lot of damage, especially when it's Alarm playing it.
Oh yeah. Just one quick thing about the Mei strat that they were running. While Fusion did counter it, there were so many walls coming out from Sugar Free that he cut Alarm off, and would there was one in particular. The engagement was coming in. I believe he got Alarm and Bernard inside of the wall, and they shut down both of them inside of the wall. This is at point B on Hanamura, and it was just constantly he was cutting them off. But as soon as he would miss them, Fusion University would get a tick, or they would they would start the snowball. So it was a solid strat, but anytime that wall missed, man, did they take a big hit for it.
Yeah, you have to play perfectly against Fusion every single time. If you play anything less than 100% perfectly, you lose.
Oh.
And like on Numbani, Atlanta had to play perfectly and clutch out even harder than Fusion clutched out. Same on Route 66. It just like it was. Oh, man, it really came down to it.
Route 66 has its little debacle in there too, so we'll talk about that here in a second.
Now we have to talk about Ajax. So I was screaming at the TV at Ajax a couple times here, and I can't guarantee that this was his fault, whether this was bad comms, whether this was what the coaches told him to do, or whether it was actually him misplaying. But man, he wasted so many sound barriers, it felt like, or even when he was playing Zenyatta, he tranced like in winning fights. Like there were very often fights that like they had like a 3-man advantage and they still trance. And I think maybe, yes, against Fusion University, better safe than sorry, I guess, but still like you probably didn't need to use it every single time. It just felt like he was wasting. And then, oh my God. Oh my God. There was a copy pasta about this I want to try to find again. About Ajax dying 3 times in a row with sound barrier as he was casting it, so he doesn't even get it refunded or anything like that on Busan. And oh my, it just broke my heart to see that every single time. Team get grabbed. Oh, let's break it. And he dies. No sound barrier. Atlanta dies. That's it. Like, that was such a dominant showing from Fusion. Every single time they knew he had sound barrier, that team knew to focus him so hard and just win the fight super handedly.
And all 3 sound barriers were completely different types of deaths. Yeah. One of them was literally, he was like mid-jump going to sound barrier after like rotating back behind the Rhine shield because he was super low. The whole team was super low. And he's like, oh, let me get behind the shield and drop the beat. Well, there was still a line of sight for Alarm, and Alarm takes his head off. So then we go in, that was on downtown. Then we go into Mecha Base. Mecha Base is where the other 2 happen. And one of them was right as he says, oh, let's break it down. What does, oh my God, I'm disappointed in myself. Why am I forgetting the name of the main tank for Fusion University right now?
Chonsik.
Chonsik hears it and hits him with a shatter mid-beat. And then the last one, he decides to drop the beat inside of the barrier when there's no shield protecting him, and he's just taking massive amounts of damage. So all 3 of them were completely different types of like, one of them is hard his, like that grab one. Super questionable why he would do that with no protection. The shatter one, I'll give that more to Chonsik. And then he should have just played, like, his timing on the first one on downtown was just, that's another one that was really, really, so I'd say there was 2 bad ones and one that just Chansik outplayed him, but still, man, to lose 3 beats in one map, that's a tough go. That's
brutal.
Real tough.
Hollywood now. Hollywood is where we ask the question, is this BM or is this an actual strat? And it was confirmed by Spazzo, who was the coach of Fusion University, that it's an actual strat. We're not just BMing. They bring out the Symmetra on Hollywood Attack, and it works because when you have a Transcendence and you split the team in half with the wall with the shield barrier, you can't heal through shields. So it works pretty well for the attack, especially after they full held Atlanta Academy here. And my last note here, it seems like it was, they just got exhausted. Atlanta Academy just got exhausted. You could tell, like, it was like a 3-hour match as well. Like, it was, or maybe a 2+ hour match. And I think this is something you have to train for if you're going to finals here. You just have to play. You have to scrim a 3-hour block with no breaks or like minimal breaks. You have to get yourself used to the amount of hype and the amount of yelling you're doing when these fights are this close. When it comes down to a like needlehead like difference between winning and losing, you are high adrenaline, and like I can just imagine how exhausted Atlanta must have been after this. On Hollywood, they just seemed like they were just at their wits' end. They're just like, I just don't know anymore. I want to go to bed. I'm exhausted. Dorado, same thing. They seemed,
and on their probably their most dominant map that we've seen them on, Dorado, they could not get past the fountain. It was just, it was tough to watch, man. It really was.
It's brutal. But I guess that's kind of all we have. Fusion take it 4-2. I technically hit it on the nose. You got pretty close.
I do want to bring up something that was not in your set of notes. Let's take it back to Route 66 for a second.
Okay.
So Route 66, we've seen this now. Route 66 is probably either tied for first or a solid second for Atlanta Academy's best maps. Like, we've seen some of their best play come out of Route 66. Atlanta Academy almost full holds Fusion University here. And I'm talking, like, we're deep into overtime, and it's on the verge of Atlanta winning, and Gator gets a little too excited. He shatters, does the blind shatter through the payload. We see it a lot in Contenders. He doesn't get anybody. He walks forward directly into a Brigitte with a Reinhardt standing behind her and gets absolutely decimated.
Right, because they almost had the full hold.
Almost the full hold. Yeah.
Yep.
Right in front of Big Earls. Like, somebody full holding Fusion University on Route 66 would have been phenomenal. But instead, a slight misplay. Instead of pulling the shield up and walking backwards, which the fight could have then dragged out with the main tank still being there, and it could have went either way at that point. We'll never know. Instead, he basically handed point 1 to Fusion University because they rolled straight through. The next engagement, they got destroyed, just gave up ult advantage to Fusion University. Luckily, they were able to stop them right at the second bend heading in towards point 2. But man, those micro plays where we were talking about, you have to play perfect. It was literally 2 steps forward and he got bashed, and then just absolutely deleted by Chansik, and I believe Snillo was on the Brigitte for that. Like, it was tough. I was hoping for the full hold because that would have been an amazing storyline. But instead, we got another like 10 minutes of nail biting overtime burn that Fusion University loves to play on.
Just pain.
But if I would have to say for the 2018 Contenders series, out of the 3 seasons, this finals was probably the best Overwatch Contenders NA match that I've watched all year. If you don't
at least
watch
up until the end, at least until the end,
yeah, at least until the end, because it like I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh my god, Atlanta is like they're gonna do this. Hanamura was questionable. It almost felt like they threw it away. They burned a lot of time on that rotation going upstairs, and there was a lot of time that was wasted. They could have got probably 2 more pushes in if they would have sped up that rotation, but they didn't. So there's a couple misplays, but phenomenal. If you haven't watched it, go back, watch the VOD. It's great. But I do believe that wraps it up for our quick play here. We talked a little bit about the speculation.
We could go into it a little bit more here. We have a decent amount of time left here.
Okay. Brandon Padilla, Seagull Man, as most people know him, over on the Twitter, tweeted out, current rumors from a couple different sources imply that all but one of the remaining North American Overwatch League teams, and then he lists them, Valiant, Vancouver, Toronto, Washington, and Houston, have declined to field an academy team for the Season 1 2019. Toronto remains the obvious assumption for this one, yes. And then he was reaching out to a couple teams for comment. Now, he does write for the Game House, so when he says that he has a couple sources that are telling him this, I tend to believe him.
Probably moderately backed up and reputable here, so it's not like it's a Michael leak or whatever. Yeah, like this is interesting. Like I would think that more teams. I guess okay. Vancouver makes sense that they're not. Toronto, it would make sense to me if they weren't. We know that that Valiant are. I don't know why they're not. I guess because they're just utilizing their sister team well, and they're having their own kind of structure with that.
Yep.
Washington, I think it's the money thing. I think Washington is being like there are big money teams in Overwatch League, and there are low money teams in Overwatch League. Like Mayhem, low money team. Washington, low money team. Seems like Toronto's almost a low money team, with just based off of how few like big names that they picked up. Atlanta's like moderate money, Valiant's moderate money, but then like Dallas and Philly and Shock are like huge money. I will buy everyone teams.
See, I would almost put Toronto in that moderate money. Like they had that
very possibly.
They had that event up in Toronto. Seemed like they put a decent amount of money into it. It was a nice venue. They're already putting out video content, tons of video content.
Always great to see, yeah.
We know they're tied into Splice. We've already called it. We've already said that first gen going to Toronto Defiant as their academy team. I would love to see it. Don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, I have small information, but it's nothing that I can hedge a bet on.
Right.
But the fact that only one team is going to do it, like, if it's here's my thing, if it's a money thing, you don't have to sink a whole lot of money into it. Okay, so you don't get a team house and move everybody to LA. Like, you support them in other ways. But then you have a way to sell contracts. Well, if you don't have the academy team, you can't sell contracts to make money. So I don't know. Like, I think that the not having the money argument is kind of a bad choice to not do it. I would guess, because statistically speaking, until season 3, academy teams have all made fairly decent money in Contenders, because this is the first season where we've seen 2 academy teams relegated. Last season was 1, but that was kind of like an internal explosion on GGEA's part.
Right.
Like, and then we have Mayhem Academy and Boston this time, and that was just straight up because there were better teams in season 3 than both of those teams. So, I mean, it opened the door for first gen second win to get their invites back.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense to me to see teams pick up contenders rosters. It would make sense for Washington because they are a team in NA with NA players.
Yep.
They're an English-speaking team. Houston, same thing. Toronto is a team in NA with Korean-speaking players. They have a coach who speaks English, but like that's about it. I don't think they will ever pick up a non-English speaking player. I mean, I think it'd be very unlikely, same as Vancouver. It surprises me that Washington don't, but I guess money is the issue. It's going to be weird to see Toronto do it, but I guess if Spitfire are doing it with the British Hurricane, why not them do it as well? If they have the money and they have people who want to run a team and you can sell the contracts for money and generate more revenue that way, makes sense.
Yep. And then the next little bit here is the Open Division. The final week for the 2019 Season 1 of Open Division, which will lead directly into Trials, we believe will be like 2 weeks after the finals. It's in its final regular season week. So the last 2 matches will be played this weekend, and then the finals are on the same weekend as the Jane's Tournament of Future Champions. Now, the thing that I'm bringing up here for the speculation is we still have zero information on how Trials is going to work for the new setup for NA Contenders. NA is being broke down into East and West. So
we have
how does that work?
Per now?
Yes, 8 teams per.
And that's a lot of... So last time we talked about the possibility of like what happens if all of these different teams bring in their rosters. There's going to be 12 spots occupied by NA team academy teams, and there's only 4 left. Now we still have a decent amount, but we only got like 2 in the last season. We only have the 1 extra, probably Toronto, and then we have the Atlanta Academy.
Yep,
that's going to be a ton of open teams. I just checked over the top division. We have Chicken Contenders, who's number 1 in the ranked number 1 right now, and that is Harblue's team with Suppose and Tanner and a couple of those people I've never really heard of. Dogmen are up there with the 8-0. Fracture, Mirage, Young Guns, Path to Poverty, all kind of moderately known open division teams that we've heard of.
Triumph.
Never heard of them.
There's
a couple of names that I haven't really heard of.
Triumph just released a couple weeks ago. Let me pull them up real quick. Released their branding basically. Their social media manager is actually Seagull Man, who we were just talking about. And they got a compliment from IOStux earlier today, actually, saying that it's a tier 3 team with Overwatch League branding. It's super clean branding. But the team is Shurshoy, Mystic, Awkward, Joby, Pebamitsu, the real Sun Kim, and Fragon as the coach. So there's a couple names in there that we know. They're playing through Open Division, and I do believe right now they are 8-0 also. So there's a couple teams in there that might be able to take. Now, if we break it down, I believe we have 8 academy teams, so that's going to leave 8 opened contender spots. So what, 4 West, 4 East, coming up through Trials. Now, if we have to fill 8 spots and we just relegated 4 contenders teams down, if you bring 4 Trials teams up, that's 8 teams. You don't even have to play Trials. So Trials has to change, and we still have no information.
I think that they're still figuring it out. That's what it feels to me like. I think it's going to be literally figured out the week of Open Division playoffs, and then
it's just I'm itching for I want some Trials information. I want to know how NA East and NA West is going to work. I'm assuming that Gladiators Legion and Envy are NA West. XL2 Fusion University, ATL Academy, Mayhem. Who else? Maybe NRG, because NRG is based in DC. And then Toronto.
I would think that the teams, like whatever division the Overwatch League team is in, would be the same for Contenders. So like NRG, like yes, they're being operated in DC. They had their team house in DC, which made sense, I guess. They are partnered with Events DC, but they are at San Francisco Shock, so they're West Coast. Their owner is a West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
He owns the Giant. He owns our local basketball team. So like it would make sense. Yeah, I don't.
Like
I'm not 100% on that. I would make sense to conform to the Overwatch League same divisions.
Yeah. There's just so much new stuff and so little clarification right now that it's
so
like
many questions.
It's driving me absolutely insane right now. But then Kyle, you've got a note here.
Yeah, so next week we don't have a whole lot to talk about, so I'm going to take the opportunity to watch some other region games, man.
Yeah,
I
sounds
miss
good.
being able to do that because we've been swamped with NA stuff so much. NA games. We had like 7 games to talk about for finals. Lots and lots and lots to chat about. But now we have a little bit of a lull, and Contenders Korea finals are happening January 18th at, what is 2100? It's like 9 o'clock PST? Yeah. 9 o'clock Pacific. So I'll be watching those, and we'll be breaking those down. It's Element Mystic versus Runaway. I don't really know too much about either team. I know Element Mystic has Sparkle, who has been just destroying people. Also has XCI or Z, who's been nuts as well. And then the rest of the team has been stripped away and built with new people. Runaway, whole new team. QOQ Mag, Li Jae Gon, Hisu, Shui, and Gangnam Jin. All new people, all pretty much unheard of, and they're both in finals. So I'm going to go with Element Mystic here. I think this is going to be a sick match regardless. It really speaks to how many, like both of these teams got picked apart. Runaway entirely, completely picked apart. Element Mystic, the only 2 people left, I think, were the 2 players who were massively too young in Sparkle, who's like 11 as well. He's not actually 11, but he might as well be. And XCI, who's I think just 16 or something. Yeah, Sparkle's 16. XCI is 17. So everyone else on this team, I believe, is new. So I think it really speaks to being able to pick up a new roster and make playoffs again with all new people. So these orgs have been killing it lately.
Yeah, that just shows that, and we've heard that it's a completely different, like, what's the word I'm looking for here? A different culture over there when it comes to esports. Whole new team, all new players, but the support staff are still able to mold these players into championship level teams. So I'm looking, I don't get, like, I work a lot and then I get to watch NA basically. But the fact that I'll be able to watch the Korean finals this weekend, I'm actually super pumped for it. Like, I can't wait to talk about a region that I have no clue about. So if you thought that I barely know what I'm talking about on NA, wait till you listen to Korea. But that is it. I have a special little note here. I was contacted by a local gentleman who is starting up the Cleveland Guardians esports team, and he is actually looking for Overwatch players in and around the Cleveland area, Northeast Ohio, to try to put together like a local team. He said he's not against picking up people that aren't local, but he does want to look local first. So if any of our listeners are interested, feel free to contact me, and then I will get you in contact with the owner of the Cleveland Guardians esports team. But I do believe that is it for us tonight. Kyle, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me at Twitter at Kyle the Winner, WINNER, Twitch as well, same thing. I'll be streaming, just not today, maybe tomorrow. It's been busy, so we'll see.
Yep.
Hit me up with the follow. I'll post when I'm live.
Yep. And I am over on the Twitter at Thorn Rain. As always, we are looking for the Twitch followers. If you're an audio listener, make yourself free a Twitch account. Go over, slap that follow button. It is greatly appreciated. We shout out all of our followers here on the show. We've got that sub button now. If you got that sweet Amazon Prime, go ahead and use that Twitch Prime free sub. You know you want to. But the big one, the free one, if you have just 30 seconds, swing over to iTunes, leave us a review. 1 star, 5 star, it doesn't matter. We read all of our reviews on the show as long as they're not a book, because we've already done that once and we promised never to do it again. But you can find the show over on Twitter at Blackwatch Report. There's no O in that report. You can email the show blackwatchreport@gmail.com. And you can follow the show on Twitch at twitch.tv/blackwatchreport. We record live Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern. Our intro music is an original piece by our very own Kyle Wynn. This has been a High Noon production. You can find all of our shows over at highnoonpodcast.com, and you can come and chat with all of the hosts over at the Discord at discord.me/highnoonpodcast. And with that, Blackwatch out.